Hey guys, welcome back to Lunatic Astrology. Today we're talking about Jupiter, and I'm your astrologer, Lori Luthian. Jupiter and Pluto in a sextile we have not seen since May 27th of 2010. Now, you know what? Yes, we will see sextiles between Jupiter and Pluto, doing their thing, but this is the last time we've seen a waning sextile from Jupiter moving through his home kingdom in great dignity in Pisces, looking back over his shoulder at Pluto in rocky Capricorn. So if you want to get the gist of this, you do have to go back to what events happened in May of 2010 in your life and in the life of the collective. I'm going to talk about some of the collective themes and your life. We're going to do the all signs version of this amazing power up of two brothers, Pluto, the god of the underworld, and his bro, Jupiter, the king of Mount Olympus, when they're in a flowing, harmonious, positive energy called a sextile. Sextile is 60 degrees away from each other. It is the nature of Venus. It tends to bring good things. Now, before I tell you all about that, remember your rising sign will be the most accurate. Then you can listen as well for your sun and moon. Don't know how to calculate your rising sign? Check out my free little 5-minute tutorial video tutorial on how to do that using astrology software that's free online, and cast your own chart. And then you don't have to have an astrologer do it. And you'll always know, hey, what's my rising sign, right? What is the ascendant in my sky? And you'll know forevermore. And you'll have your chart in whole sign houses, which is very useful because I'm a Hellenistic whole sign astrologer using the tropical Western zodiac. All right. Now, before we get going to talk about you and your impact of this particular sextile that lasts really a long time. I mean, it's kind of like May 1st to the May 8th timeframe. I want to say as well, this is the end of the month of April, my birthday month. If you catch this video on May 1st, I'll leave the sale up for one more day. It's not even a sale. You can get my free 60-minute all signs videos, literally for every sign predicting 2022 for nothing, as long as you sign up for my newsletter. Check the link below and see if that at all is something that you're interested in. Okay, let's get going. Weekly forecast newsletter. This is a book I love, The Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. I learned archetypal astrology with him. He's a fantastic teacher, and 6 months with him, and it was a real good journey to add to my Babylonian and Hellenistic astrology. Now, I'm just going to read a bit about what he says with Jupiter-Pluto contacts from the archetypal perspective. A feeling of great resources, potential, inner stature, authority, a broad and deep experience of life, dramatic opportunities for regeneration. Who doesn't want a dramatic opportunity for regeneration now in your life, in my life, and in the life of the world? I'll take it. And it also is titanic evolutionary forces. Extreme. Now, the downside could be extreme material or spiritual ambition, a tendency to feel high and mighty, an obsession with glory and greatness, and opportunities to abuse power. So those are just some general principles. He literally will have like 3 pages of describing these energies in the sky. And unfortunately, I don't want to read to you guys. So check the book out if you're interested in an amazing book. The Archetypal Universe by Ren Butler. Okay, so here's some things I want to mention about the collective. And if you hate this stuff and you just want to care about you and your sign, go to the chapters, go to the timestamps. But let's talk about the collective for a minute. We're in a post-pandemic world, and we're having a dignified Jupiter looking over at his brother Capricorn, Pluto, the god of the underworld. When Pluto's in Capricorn, where he's been since like 2008, he's all about structures, the financial system, stock markets, economies, the material consumptive capitalist culture that we're in, an earthy culture about systems of governance and power and existing even patriarchal power structures. Now, things have been changing, and dramatically so, since 2008. The subprime loan scandal and the fallout in the stock market and the mini recession all happened just as Pluto ingressed into Capricorn, and Pluto is transforming and terraforming all of those things I just mentioned. Add to that, this is Pluto return for the United States of America. So yeah, that's happening as well. US has its natal Pluto in Capricorn, and it happens to be a big deal for what's happening in the United States right now. So the other interesting part of the story is that we have Jupiter now in a dignified place, his home sign of Pisces. He's there every 12 years. He's just had a chat with Neptune. He hasn't seen Neptune since 1856 in Pisces, so it's very rare. He's had some spiritual unity, oneness, dreamy, transcendent archangel spirit guides energy around him. And now he's talking over his shoulder, looking back behind him, right? Because he's in Pisces and Capricorn's behind him. So it's a waning sextile at his brother Pluto. So this can bring some interesting developments. So in order to know what this might look like for the collective, I did some research and I went back in time and I wanted to say, well, time travel, Lori, what was going on? Well, Obama nominated a Supreme Court judge, justice and juries and all of that. And law is Jupiter stuff and Pluto is power. So Supreme Court is the most powerful court in the land, and Obama nominated someone to the court. Interestingly, Pluto in ancient astrology stands for people of color, people with darker complected skin. And of course, Obama has darker complected skin. There's one example of something that happened in the dark days of May 2010. Another example is, there's so many examples, there was a whole flotilla of nations that sort of floated over with their ships to Israel to try to stop a blockade that Israel had, I think, to the ports in Palestine. And people, there was humanitarian suffering in Palestine. And so there was this flotilla of, and it was in the news all of May, of ships on the Piscean Sea, right? Jupiter, justice and fairness, and then Pluto, power. That was the Israeli stance trying to blockade access to the ports in this, I guess, whatever sea that the Palestinian nation is on. I'm sorry that I don't remember it as much as all that, guys. I did look at all this earlier today, but now it's all kind of phasing out. There was some interesting things to do with medicine. There was recalls by Johnson & Johnson of 43 different over-the-counter medicines that were for infants and children that could be dangerous. And there was a massive pulling them off the markets at 43 items. Hello. So we could see some kind of justice and fairness recall, or something to do with, maybe with something to do with health and medicine. And what else was going on? I got a little cheat sheet I'm looking at on my screen. There was all this news about violent crime falling across the United States dramatically to the lowest rates they'd seen in ages. That's interesting because Jupiter justice in a flowing relationship to like underworld, seedy god and stuff like that, you know, kind of mafia god. Pluto is kind of, things were better than they usually were. The Supreme Court retracted or banned life sentences in May of 2010 for juveniles in non-murder cases. That was the end of the ability to give a life sentence to a juvenile, someone under the age of 18. And the Supreme Court, again, justice and power, Pluto and justice and Jupiter, power. The rationale was that it was a breaking of the 8th Amendment on cruel and unusual punishment. So there was that thing that came down and, you know, was, you know, happening. I'm just looking for anything else. A lot of border law enforcement on the Mexican-United States border is going on. Republicans were complaining, what else is new, that there wasn't enough security on the border. So Obama sent 1,200 National Guard troops to the border on May 25th. That's literally right around the exact May 27th sextile, as an act of, you know, goodwill to say, yeah, okay, we'll put some people down there to protect the border from, you know, drug smuggling activities. And of course, drug smuggling would be a Plutonian activity. Pluto is the underworld, the mafia, the crime, the secrets, the, you know, darker side of life, and Jupiter sextiling is cleaning it up. Anything else I'd say about that time? There was a couple of oil spills going on and stuff to do with oil spills and cleanups of that. Jupiter cleaning up the oil, Pluto. The International Monetary Fund and European Union agreed to bail out Greece financially because Greece was sinking. So there was a bailout for a European nation. So I'm giving you some flavor of this. The first priest in Italy to be ordained in the Catholic Church happened in this justice and religion, Jupiter, Pluto power sextile. So you got a kind of a fun lay of the land. I'm just going to guess that this could have some positive news for the world to do with things like maybe the pandemic, maybe to do with the war in Ukraine and some reconciliation or negotiation going on. You know, it's a positive influence more than anything else. So let's get going and talk about you and your sign and how it might impact you based on your rising sign, sun, and moon. Now, again, listen to your rising sign above all else, and then you can move to your sun and moon sign. Oh, my hand is like looking so weird. So I'm on the back end of my software. This is going to be like a quickie video, just like my last quickie video that I did for the Venus, Neptune, Jupiter. And if you haven't seen that one, go take a look at it. And you might enjoy that. Hang on a sec, guys. I want to show you what this looks like in the sky first. Let me cue it up to April of 20. Okay, so let me just show you what it looks like. Then I'll go ahead and delineate all signs, okay? Just for the geeks out there, the astrology geeks, you can see Jupiter at 27 Pisces, Pluto at 28 on the day of the eclipse, April 30th. That's when I'm recording. This goes to my Patreon community today. I'll probably post this on Sunday or Monday at the latest, so it's timely for you. Kind of a May. It's kind of a now, April 30th to May 8th event. So Jupiter will be moving forward, as you can see. And if you just want to see what I mean, when I move him forward by one single day, he's at 28, Pluto's at 28, and I keep going 28, 28, 28, 28, and begins to wane on May the 6th. And it's still an orb of influence, though, seriously, until even May the 10th. Now, the thing about this is that I forgot to mention that Pluto is sitting on the asteroid Minerva, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. And they're together in the sky, about 2 degrees apart. And this could give Pluto another vibe here, right? Pluto, the god of the underworld, with Minerva, also known as Athena, the wisdom, knowledge, and, you know, geeky god of understanding things. And Pluto is like to go onto the surface and reveal something that's hidden. So what wisdom or knowledge or information that was hidden from the public view will be uncovered or unearthed in the wake of this sextile between, let's say, May 1st and May 10th. And it may have to do with financial systems, governance, corruption in governments. Jupiter in Pisces could be things to do with legal affairs that involve water bodies, maritime law, you know. Jupiter in Pisces is co-present with Neptune, who rules viruses and like, you know, plagues, well, not plagues per se, but like small things you can't see that can cause you to be ill, sort of that miasma that would be about viral contagion. So maybe it has to do with the pandemic, what news and information is going to come out from underneath the surface, hidden from view, that justice, fairness will prevail. Legal cases involving the pandemic. There's a couple of in Canada right now regarding the rights of the unvaccinated, or people doing lawsuits against vaccine damage. I'm just making stuff up. I'm just suggesting some of the ways this can play out. I am just asking you to remember, I'm not taking a position on war or on vaccines or on mandates. I'm actually just describing the sky. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and do the all signs portion of the reading. I just want to be really clear, guys. Okay. And I'm Canadian, so you can't even get me on your politics in the United States. A lot of Americans get upset and think I'm a right winger or a left winger. You can't win in the United States right now. You guys are so darn polarized. Okay. And let's get moving. I'm just going to fix my screen. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Why? Because it helps my channel grow. There's an algorithm here. And the more people comment or like, or hit the bell for notifications, the more people see my videos, and the more they see my videos, the more I ask you to do that. And it helps me grow. And I'm growing really, really at a lovely pace. I had 450 subscribers in the last 30 days, and that's one of my all-time highs. So thank you to each of you for being a part of my channel. All right, so here we go. Let's talk about Aries, sun, moon, rising sign. Now, Aries people, this is a kind of an intense energy in one way. Pluto is in your 10th house, which is one of your big houses, angular. It's a big deal. It's your career, your reputation. And, you know, he's only got till 2024 to vamoose for good, spring of 24. But until he's gone for good, you really are in this kind of like transformation cauldron since 2008 about career path. And this kind of invention, reinvention, and ashes and rising from the ashes and all of that. Tell me about it. I've had so many different directions. I mean, magazine editor and everything else, and then a spiritual teacher online, now astrology. So this is ongoing. And now Jupiter from your 12th house looks over his shoulder like he did in May of 2010 and sends a sweet blessing to Pluto, and Pluto sends him a sweet blessing back. If you make money online through online payment processors for international overseas stuff like PayPal and Stripe, and you have an international audience, that kind of barter and trade could be some good sign in the month of May of a boom in the first 10 days of May regarding your ability to generate that kind of revenue. However, Jupiter is also in the house of your addictions, Aries, and your self-undoing, the way you kind of F your life up because you're your own worst enemy and you shoot yourself in the old foot. And here Jupiter is trying to help you. So as he's sitting here and he's looking over at Pluto, you may have a teacher or a guide or a learning or some knowledge or wisdom come to you that Pluto would also help provide, maybe from a very powerful authority figure that helps you clear up some of your confusion about how to move straight and forward without giving yourself self-sabotaging storylines. Alrighty. Anything else? Travel, and Jupiter's a travel god. Jupiter likes to go places. The 12th house is foreign lands. You may have an opportunity to book a trip to a foreign land in the first 10 days of May, if not even take one. And if you do, it will be a very positive trip and maybe a sanctuary, spiritual retreat, or a learning trip of some kind. Jupiter tends to favor that kind of travel when he's in your 12th house, a moksha, enlightenment, liberation house. Taurus, sun, moon, and rising sign. In your sky, the energy of Pluto since 2008, traveling through your 9th house of higher education and book publishing, foreign lands, and travel, those are themes that have been really active for you, okay? And now in religion as well. And now Taurus's sun, moon, but especially rising, Jupiter is looking over his shoulder from your 11th house, powering up some kind of great resourcefulness, some kind of great action, some kind of, what did Ren Butler call it again? I'm going to go back and look. I forgot how he described it. Oh, I'm not going to get it. But, some kind of regenerative, transformative, powering up in a good way. So for you guys, you might want to look at it as this is an opportunity, Jupiter's opportunity in his house of his joy, the 11th house, to benefit from a friend or an ally who wants to do you a favor, to support you in your higher education, trips and travel, foreign lands, faith and religion, life's purpose, all of that. Jupiter here too could bring you some money luck, a windfall of some kind. But if it does happen and it's involving Pluto in the 9th house, it's from the house of the father in Vedic astrology. Maybe your father lent you a bunch of money to go to school. Maybe your father just feels, it's time to bless you with finances. Yes, it can be also inheritance money when it comes to this kind of thing. So just in case, the reason I say that is Jupiter rules your house of inheritances, your 8th house, and he is in your 11th house of the money, the windfall, the pennies from heaven. Pluto is the god of death. So just for some Taurus people, there's a possibility of a patriarchal windfall or inheritance coming in the week, 10 days ahead. Now, will the money come in 10 days? No, but maybe news of the money, for instance, if it's a bequeathment transit. Gemini, sun, moon, rising sign. So Jupiter traveling through your 10th house of career and reputation, looking back at Pluto, where he's been since 2008 in your 8th house. And don't forget, you go back in time, right, to May of 2010 to get a sense of this. So Pluto, he's like in a house of death, and he's the god of death. I don't know how it's been for you Gemini since like 2008 to have the house of death with the god of death going through it. Pluto is ostensibly happy here, but it could have been deep uncovering of family secrets, things that were hidden, betrayals, shame, dark things happening, getting involved with occult magic and mysteries, getting a deep, profound journey through the area of the sky that represents inheritances and finances and money in general. Now, Pluto with Jupiter, go back to 2010, this time is going to offer some kind of goodness, wisdom and knowledge in the 8th house, in a money house, and Jupiter in the 10th could be some really positive things in the first 10 days of the month of May, where Jupiter wants to give you a career blessing, a promotion, a raise that powerfully impacts your finances. You could even have a bit of celebrity or being rewarded or being applauded or lauded for some success in your career or your chosen path. And it can also improve your finances as well, because this is a money and career energy that's playing out. And by the way, to add to that, Jupiter, when you were born, he exalts your 2nd house of earnings. And so he will try to send some of the goodness back to your 2nd house of cash flow. So I could say more cash is flowing in for a lot of the Gemini folk during this time, the first 10 days of May. And Jupiter also supports you in your own natal sky, in your marriage and business partnerships house. So those things can also have some element of increase for you as you go into the first 10 days of May. So let's keep on going, and we're going to move past the old Gemini folk, bless your soul, into the Cancerian people, the lunar watery Cancers of the sky. Now, Cancer people, this is kind of important because Pluto is in one of your angular houses where he's been since 2008. And don't forget, go back to May of 2010 to see how that played out back then. But Pluto, since 2008, has been moving through their house of marriage, also the house of business partnerships. And this kind of been very intense ups and downs and near endings of your marriage. Or maybe you have actually ended a marriage in that time, or a significant relationship has ended. And now that Pluto's going to be gone in 2024, some of that intensity will come to a close. And Pluto's about secrets. So maybe your partner has secrets, or you had secrets from your partner, and those things were disclosed since 2008. So not the easiest transit for marriages, that's for sure, Cancer. Could have been very disruptive as a Cancer rising, especially. You might have felt like you went through a death experience in the end of a relationship. Or new relationships came in with powerful and controlling people. I mean, so many ways it could have played out. Now, Pluto, though, is getting love vibes from Jupiter, and Jupiter's in your ninth house. Now, the ninth house of courts, legal affairs, the ninth house of travel to foreign shores, or even visas and things to do with moving to a foreign land. Jupiter will help you prevail in any legal dealings because he's up there. And he's up there, actually, to be clear, again in the fall, but this is just like until about the 10th of May, and with this Pluto energy going, powering up success in legal contracts, legal agreements, visas, foreign lands, higher education, and relevant to as well, maybe signing documents, because Pluto's in the house of contracts and agreements. It could also look like, because Jupiter is the Lord of your sixth house of health protocols to avoid sickness, the house of sickness, that you can improve your health as well through something you learn through another person, right? Because Pluto's on the wisdom and knowledge goddess, and you may also improve your work routines as well. And Jupiter exalts your body. So again, health and body and work routines are also given in the first 10 days of May, a positive, regenerative, transformative spin of some kind. Leo, sun, moon, rising sign. So in your story, you've got Pluto for the last 2008 onward, moving through your sixth house of health, or sickness actually, and health, and also work and work habits, office, coworker space, employees, employers, all that stuff, wage earning life, your job. So I don't know, you go back and tell me, how has that been? Have you changed your job, transformed your job, had different jobs, had major transformative experiences on the path to health and work itself? Now, Jupiter in this time frame, just like in 2010, is looking over his shoulder back at Pluto from your eighth house of death. It's a bequeathment transit. Inheritance money can come when this is happening. He's looking back at Pluto as well from the place of your, well, given it's connected to the work house, this could be a buyout or some kind of money coming from your work. But Pluto also could bring you what you need to know, knowledge or understanding of something. The truth shall set you free from the house of secrets that impacts either your health or work or collegiate relationship with coworkers and colleagues. So sometimes Jupiter going through the eighth house is a secret spiller. So if there's something you need to know that you don't know, oh, Leos, it could show up in your life as quite obviously told to you by someone, or you discover the truth sometime between the 1st and the, let's say, the 10th of May. Jupiter is the Lord in your sky of your fifth house of children. So maybe some secrets from and about your children, or your romantic lover, for instance. Jupiter also exalts your 12th house of your dreams at night in your inner life, helping you deal with whatever's going on from a deep spiritual place, hopefully of equanimity. Virgo, sun, moon, rising sign. Well, Jupiter moving through your 7th house of relationships since, well, December, like this iteration, December of 21, is helping up level your marriage partnership, your significant other relationship. It's getting loved up. It's getting, super juiced with, especially with Venus and Neptune there as well. So this is like fairy tale love story enhancement. And if you're single, this can bring that kind of story into your life. And if you're with someone, it can give you a glow up in your relationship or your business partnerships. Now, Jupiter in that house of relationship, love, and business is looking over at Pluto with the wisdom and knowledge goddess in your 5th house of romance, your 5th house of your children, the 5th house of your independent business. So for people in independent business, Virgos, who are your own business owner, or, do your own gig, this is really a positive development. This could be a new arrangement, a legal agreement, a contract of some sort to fortify you to be more joyful and more prosperous in your business. But if it's not about that, this is a deep, intense, really satisfying regenerative connection with love and romance, or Probably that. I doubt it's the children's story. I really don't think it is, because Jupiter is in the 7th house placement. So go back to May of 2007 and what was happening. I'm just going to grab a bit of water before I continue. I don't know why you don't have it with me like I should. Give me a minute. Okay, let's move to Libra, sun, moon, but especially rising sign. And don't forget, go back to May of 2010. What was happening in your life then? How could this be also recapitulating now? All right. So you have Pluto moving through your 4th house of home, real estate, ancestral line, family of origin themes. It's been there since 2008, almost done in 2024. I wonder here if you're not feeling like you have to dig up something, and Jupiter is going to help you. This can be very powerful to do with legal agreements and contracts and land. Of course, that might be selling and buying real estate, getting approvals for things to do with land and real estate through legal conditions and contracts. This can also, in the first 10 days of May, bring you some kind of breakthrough or harmony or, oh, sorry, pause, sorry, Libra. I apologize. I'm going to start that over for you, okay? I'm just clued out. The way I've advanced the chart, I've got Jupiter, like I moved him into the far-flung future and he moved into Aries. So starting over for you, I apologize. Well, I'll timestamp this correctly. Starting all over for Libra, all right? Libra, sun, moon, and rising sign. You do have Pluto in your 4th house. Long journey since 2008. Terraforming, transforming the house of ancestors, the house of land and home and real estate. And you may have moved, you may have built homes, you may have changed homes, you may have uncovered family secrets, you may have experienced the death of a mother during this transit. You may have gone deeper into your family of origin stories to uncover things that were hidden from you, either literally or psychologically. Now, Jupiter is sitting in his zone of influence from the sign of Pisces, where he's at home and he's looking over at Pluto. And when he does that, he brings with him an incredible amount of positivity from the house of your work and health routines. It could be, if you go back to May 2010, you changed your home and your health routines relative to each other, or you changed your work routines and work space even in relationship to your home, like moving to a new city or town, and therefore your workplace changed, or changing your work so you work from home and therefore your workplace changed. Jupiter in the 6th house is really going to open up some energy here for more joyful and yay health. And he's been trying to do that. He'll be back October, November, December. He's been trying to do that for 5 months. He can also help you find solutions for challenges to your health, learn ways to resolve that health challenge. Because Pluto's with the god of wisdom and knowledge, goddess Minerva, and this is the house, he's a god of secrets, and this is the house of the family of origin. You just may find out in the first 10 days of May, something about your mom or your dad, mostly your mom, or the family of origin, or where you grew up. Something will come to light. Now, if you're buying and selling real estate or anything like that, or dealing with real estate matters, Jupiter represents the kind of legalese of stuff. He's in the 6th house, and that's kind of like the labor house, like the wage earning, labory, slavey vibe. And I don't say that lightly. It really was the house of slaves in Hellenistic astrology. So, and slavery was very rampant. People who were wealthy became slaves, right? You could be an indentured servant / slave at any point, in your story. There's so many ways it happened to people. But Jupiter here, he's like, maybe somebody in a kind of from a wage earning position or whatever is going to support something to do with your home in a positive way, help you open up an opportunity regarding home, land, and real estate in the first 10 days of May. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign in real estate and rising sign. Scorpio folk, you have Pluto since 2008 going through your house of siblings, the house of your local neighborhood, the house of skills-based learning, marketing and selling, the house of writing. What did I forget? Trips and travel. So transformative trips and travel, journeys that were really amazing for you, transformation of your relationship to your siblings, aunts, uncles, and cousins, ongoing. Maybe big changes of neighborhood that were quite significant for you, Scorpio rising, especially with sun and moon as well. And now this Jupiter, which he did this in May of 2010, is looking back from your 5th house of joy and enjoyment, play and fun, pleasure and joy, inspiration, the muse, filled with spirit, inspirited, the joy of life. Jupiter is looking over at Pluto. How are you going to receive this? Maybe in the first 10 days of May, you have a sense of joyful engagement with activities in your neighborhood, powerful, potent, transformative activities in your neighborhood, an ayahuasca ceremony, like a rave, I don't know. Maybe you could have some good news from one of your children coming to you, and a child, Jupiter in the house of children, Pluto in the house of travel, coming to visit you, or you go to visit a child, these kinds of things. For the most part, if you are single, this could bring a really powerful new relationship that comes from something in the local neighborhood that is Plutonian. I don't know, what's a Pluto thing in the hood, you know? I said a rave, I said an ayahuasca ceremony, a mortuary, a cemetery, I don't know, something kind of Plutonian in your local neighborhood. Pluto and Capricorn can be bureaucracies and governments maybe, and maybe you go to the municipal hall to pay a parking ticket and you meet your soulmate at the checkout pay counter, I don't know. But Jupiter is definitely in the house of romance, and he'll be back in October, November, December. So you'll get more of that later in the year, because he's getting ready to leave on May 10th. But May 1st to 10th, those are some of the themes ongoing here. Sagittarius, sun, moon, rising sign. Well, guess what? You've got Pluto in your money house since 2008. Not easy. Big renovations, upsets, upheavals, transformation of your earnings, your cash flow, your resources, and your possessions. Yeah, it's been a journey. And now you've got Jupiter loving up Pluto from the fourth house of home and real estate. So maybe a new home. Go back to May of 2010, and just go back to 2010, but it was May when it was actually really intense. What was happening in that part of your sky then that may have had to do with resources, money, and home. You could also experience this Jupiter in the fourth house as joyful engagement in activities at home, expanding your home, growing a bigger home, adding an addition, but also just feeling really good about things going on in the home. And that is expanding your money and powering up your earnings in some fundamental way. And Jupiter in the fourth house can also bring an inheritance as a legacy thing in the house of the mother. And yes, the Pluto's the god of death. This is one of those cases for Sagittarius where there may be some legacy wealth from the family of origin coming through May 1st to 10th, either knowledge that it will be coming because someone passes, or knowledge of it, you know, or that it does finally arrive and you seal the deal. Jupiter will be back here in your fourth house at the end of the year, right? End of October, November through the third week of December. So those two pieces tie together. And I will say, just for some of you Sagittarius, there may be an inheritance involved in this, or the sale of a home, or the purchase of a home. All right, Capricorn, sun, moon, rising sign. Pluto has been renovating the house of you. This has been a transformation of your very identity since 2008. Oh yeah, you've been going through a lot of it in turmoil and upset, but then regeneration and rising from the ashes of your own reality to start yourself afresh and anew. Okay. So you could have been going through quite the intensity, right? Since 2008, 2 more years left. And now Jupiter, like he did in 2010 May, looks over at your first house of you, and Pluto's sitting there. And Pluto with the wisdom and goddess knowledge, a knowledge of Minerva, the goddess of knowledge and wisdom. And they too are talking to each other in a harmonious, flowing, and loving way. Jupiter, opportunity, luck, expansion, and growth can arrive through the house of siblings, aunts, uncles, and cousins, or your local neighborhood, or through a trip that you take. You may travel and a huge opportunity emerges because of your trip. It affects you powerfully and positively in a good way. It can elevate you to greater power. I know a Capricorn who went boom and bust, or bust and boom, who got divorced and married and ended a career and retired and went back to work, rose to great power in his workplace. That's an insane story, right? That's my ex-husband, but that's how much Pluto did for him since 2008. I met him in 2008 at the beginning of that journey. The guy's gone through a lot of stuff, including everything I mentioned. So this Jupiter energy in the third house is very positive, and it certainly does bestow upon you some blessings from your extended family, maybe your sibling, but also just the idea of travels can be very beneficial, and things that are happening locally to where you live. If you want to learn something, Pluto on the goddess of knowledge and wisdom, and Jupiter is a learning god, instructing, guiding from the third house of skills-based learning. So some Capricorns will learn a new skill or some new thing that can also be very transformative and positive for you. Aquarius, sun, moon, rising sign. Yes, I'm one of you guys. And we are getting Jupiter in our money house, Jupiter juice in our money house. I've been waiting all years for this one, and it better pay off because it did back in 2010. So Jupiter is sitting in Pisces. He'll be back October, November, December. He'll be out of here by the 10th of May. We all need to go back to May of 2010. What kind of financial bounty was happening? Pluto in the 12th house is kind of a cool place because even though Jupiter says, let's bring you some bigger possessions and more money and cash flow, Pluto is in a hidden place to do with past lives or to do with your inner life and stuff like that. I believe, if I remember correctly, that the thing this may be representing was a stock purchase that took off, an investment purchase back in 2010, but it certainly didn't make me a millionaire, right? But it was a nice little perk. But I have to really think and go back to my diaries and go, what was happening in May of 2010? This is also an energy sometimes, like I find Pluto going through the 12th house for us Aquarians. It's like there's a massive unearthing of stuff in our psyche, in our soul that had to do with our past lives. It's very much about transformation and a spiritual awakening. It's a moksha house. I had a massive enlightenment episode in 2011, another one. I'm not kidding you, like full Monty stuff in 2018 during this Pluto transit through the enlightenment house, the biggest moksha house of all, liberation. And so this is now Jupiter, like guru energy, looking over at Pluto, and it can be very liberating in some way and very spiritually activating. But it does come through a money house and a voice and vocation energy as well. So you can't really pretend it's not that, like it does involve money. Sometimes I think of Pluto in the 12th house as a buried treasure from a prior life. And can you take it with you? Apparently not, but maybe in this case you can. What kind of massive cash stash did you park in a prior life? Then you cut out and died and now you want to go back and get it. Abracadabra, what kind of windfall could come? What kind of money breakthrough could show up in the first 10 days of May for some of you Aquarians? Now, sometimes Pluto in the 12th house can activate power struggles with people who don't have your back, but Jupiter is a bomb and fixes it all. So if that does happen, it's like over before it even starts. So you got that as well. Jupiter's in the house of what you put in your mouth. Pluto is in the house of addictions. They're trying to work together to stop you from putting bad things in your mouth, like cigarettes, like, too much weed, like alcohol, whatever you do, whatever you ingest through your face. This is a very positive transformational energy in the first 10 days of May to help you overcome any of those bad habits. Last but not least, Pisces, sun, moon, and rising sign. So guys, this is in your sky, in the house of you. Jupiter has been traveling since December 29th, trying to buoy you up, give you some faith, hope, and optimism, make you feel a little more happy and joyful and jovial, and give you a sense of expanding who you are in the world. And as he does this journey, he's looking back over his shoulder, May 1st to 10th kind of thing, at Pluto in your 11th house of good spirit and windfalls and pennies from heaven and favors from friends and all of that. And your deepest, transforming those deepest hopes, dreams, and wishes for your own life. This is a lot to do with how you might want to see yourself in a better light, a bigger light, a more grandiose light, to see the greatness that you're capable of, how you may be able to generate great gains from your career, how you may be able to influence people in a powerful way, or have powerful influential people support you. And there is a possibility, because Pluto can be wealth and the 11th is a money house, that you could be coming into some money in the first 10 days of May for some of you Pisces. Now, Jupiter, he's the ruler of your 10th house of career. So it may be money from a promotion or a raise at work, but he exalts your 5th house of romance as well. So maybe, and money, luck. And so buying a lottery ticket, speculation. Now, don't forget, never do things you can't afford. Know your limit, play within it is the logo in Canada for gambling, but there is a sense that you could have some money luck befall you in this particular sky. So if that makes you happy, go for it. Venus is sitting there with Jupiter. She's a ruler of your house of siblings. That's very possible too for some Pisces, if you have a female sibling, that your money juice comes through a lucky break via a sibling, particularly a woman. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. What else? Don't forget to check my description box below for everything. I'm going to be making some announcements in the next few videos about a couple of exciting courses that I'm creating. And they're two completely different beasts. One for professional astrologers and the other one for people learning astrology. So stay tuned for my announcements, because I'm so excited. I've been working on the back end of this stuff forever. All right. Big hugs to all of you. Ciao, ciao.